What is up, everybody? Thanks for watching my videos. If you're new, make sure you like, subscribe, and check out my channel for more. And, oh no, sir, you're driving the wrong way! Turns out that driver was alright, he didn't get in a wreck or anything, but guys, make sure you pay attention when you're behind the wheel. Just a good reminder, do not drive while distracted. Anyway, let's go ahead and get on with this video. The north end of Woodward Avenue is in Pontiac, which is where I start the video. From there, it's about a 26-mile drive into downtown Detroit. In between are a handful of suburbs, and I'll tell you all about it, as well as the cultural significance that Woodward Avenue has in the Motor City. Woodward Avenue goes in a loop around downtown Pontiac in the form of a one-way road with synced traffic lights, great for motorists like me that are just trying to drive by, but definitely bad for the economic development of downtown Pontiac. It diverts traffic away from Pontiac's Main Street, which is Saginaw Street, and we cross it here. Woodward Avenue used to connect straight into Saginaw Street as a continuous roadway, but now you have to cross this loop, and it acts more of like a barrier into downtown Pontiac than a complement. But that's enough about Pontiac talk, though, and if you want to know more about one of Michigan's oldest and most forgotten cities, check out my video where I give you a tour of Pontiac. Woodward Avenue is named after Augustus Woodward and was built in 1805 after a fire destroyed the city of Detroit, and it was built along the path of an old Indian trail that leads towards Mackinac. We will get more into the history of Woodward Avenue in Detroit once we, get into the city limits of Detroit. This part of Woodward Avenue is more known for the Woodward Dream Cruise stretching from Pontiac to Ferndale. However, in recent years it has gone south into the city limits of Detroit as the city is slowly becoming to be less crime-ridden. To the right is a popular event venue that is home to many garages that area car enthusiasts can keep their classic cars. It also has a 1.5-mile racetrack. We now enter Bloomfield Township, which has an average household income of $127,000 a year. The average home price is $409,000. 42,000 residents call Bloomfield Township home. And if you can't afford it, Bloomfield Township is definitely where you want to live in Metro Detroit, as it has great public schools and low crime. Now we enter Bloomfield Hills, which has a population of 4,000 residents and an average household income of $260,000 a year, making it Michigan's richest city. Oakland County is home to 1,260,000 residents with an average household income of $76,000 a year for the county, good for the 12th richest in the nation with counties of over 1 million, something that never gets mentioned when national media rips on Detroit and the state of Michigan. Bloomfield Hills is home to the Cranbrook School, which is mentioned on Eminem's movie 8 Mile. Cranbrook is a private college prep boarding school in which tuition can cost up to $50,000 for grades 9 through 12. As we enter Birmingham, we start to get more of an urban feel. Prices for condos here have raised drastically in recent years as the trend continues for millennials to buy condos in dense, walkable communities. The population here is 21,000 and the average household income is $117,000 a year. This portion of Woodward used to be called Hunter Boulevard as it narrowly bypasses downtown Birmingham, and by the way, no big deal or anything, but both Tim Allen and David Spade grew up here. Bet you didn't know that. You could also call Birmingham just a playground for the rich. We are now in Royal Oak, which has 59,000 residents and an average household income of $78,000 a year. This city is known to be a center for nightlife. Woodward doesn't go through downtown Royal Oak, but there are still some popular bars off of this strip. In the distance to the right, you can start to see the Detroit Zoo Water Tower, which is one of the bigger attractions in the region, seeing over 1.5 million visitors annually. Pleasant Ridge is a small suburb with only around 2,000 residents. However, the household average income here is around $80,000 a year. We are now in Ferndale, known for being one of the region's most LGBT-friendly communities. The population has been declining until the recent decade, where it's seen a burst of growth as the population stands around 20,000 and the average household income is at $66,000 a year. Ferndale is also where the Woodward Dream Cruise first originated, starting as a fundraiser in 1995 and just growing in popularity every year since, keeping Woodward as the heart of Detroit's automotive culture. Uh-oh, we're approaching that famous 8 Mile road. Everybody get your cell phones out and take a picture of that sign quick before it passes. And if you're the driver, don't crash. Alright, sorry about that. It's just funny to me that that's what everybody wants to do when they first come to the city to visit it, is see 8 Mile because they think it's all big and bad. Sure, it might be a little bit on the sketchy side, but not near as bad as 7 and 6 Mile. Oh man, here we go. Detroit, Michigan. It's the Motor City, home to 670,000 residents with an average income of $29,000 a year. This stretch of Woodward actually borders Detroit's nicest neighborhood called Palmer Woods, in which households make an average income of $150,000 a year. To the left, however, is the giant abandoned state fairgrounds, which they haven't figured out what to do with that property since 2009, when the last state fair was held there. It had a count of only 217,000 visitors that year, which is pretty low for a state fair. The first mile of concrete roadway in the United States was built right here along this stretch of Woodward between 6 Mile and 7 Mile in 1909. It's asphalt now, and it would actually be pretty cool to see the Michigan Department of Transportation convert it back to concrete, and then see the city of Detroit invest in making a small district out of it. I mean, seriously, what do they have to lose? Now we're in Highland Park, a city that's completely surrounded by Detroit city limits. Highland Park is one of the most miserable cities to live in the country. It's home to 10,000 residents with an average household income of $17,000 a year. That's good for a 45% poverty rate. You couldn't get much lower or higher than that if you tried. And now for a history lesson, as the streets of Detroit were originally designed to be wide open avenues to reflect that of Washington, D.C., it also used to be called the Paris of the Midwest because the street design and architecture used on the buildings during its founding days. Many of the early settlers and founders of the city were also French, so French culture had a large influence on the development of the city proper. Heck, Detroit in French is pronounced Detroit, and it means straight, as in a waterway that connects two large bodies of water. And if you don't know the geography of Detroit, the Detroit River connects two large bodies of water. And now we're back in Detroit's city limits. From this point on, we see many neat churches and buildings that were built in the late 1800s and early 1900s. The church on the left was built in 1915. And now we enter the New Center District, which is where the investments into downtown, Midtown, and New Center begin along the Woodward Avenue corridor. From the 1860s to the 1950s, a streetcar line ran down Woodward from downtown to Highland Park. In 2017, the M1 rail was completed after several years of construction, which ended a 50 to 60-year absence of a streetcar line along Woodward. It's definitely a start for mass transit, but since the Detroit area is so spread out, only a much longer line will ever show positive results on the area. However, if you are a Detroit slappy and want to live in the city, places along the Woodward corridor from this point on should be on top of everyone's list. And the condo, home, and rent prices reflect that. The blocks along Woodward in the New Center and Midtown area definitely look a lot different than any other part of the city. Do you want another history lesson? The world's first colored traffic light was installed in Detroit at the intersection of Woodward and Michigan Avenue in 1920. The intersection at the time had 20,000 vehicles cross through it daily, making it one of the busiest in the world, and that's another sign that Detroit used to be one of the largest cities in the U.S. On the right is Wayne State University, which competes in Division II athletically and enrolls 27,000 students. This is also the beginning of the Midtown District. It's among the safest areas of the city, and crime rates around Wayne State have dipped about 52% since 2008. Every year, you also have America's Thanksgiving Day Parade roll down Woodward Avenue from Midtown to downtown. It's one of the nation's biggest Thanksgiving Day parades. It's just another sign that Detroit used to be the fourth largest city in the country after New York, Chicago, and Los Angeles. A new skyscraper is planned on the left, however, currently construction costs have delayed the project and it won't be as large as originally planned. That seems to be the case with many proposed projects in Detroit as of right now in early 2020. However, nonetheless, mid-rise and mixed-use residential and commercial buildings are continuing to be constructed along Woodward and the parallel streets, and that's probably not going to stop anytime soon, and that's a good sign that the comeback in Detroit is slowly but surely having an impact and is real. On the right is the new Little Caesars Arena, which is home to the Detroit Pistons and the Detroit Red Wings. To the right is the Fox Theater, which is Detroit's most storied theater, and I want to say this, I'm not trying to brag or anything, okay, maybe I am. My ancestors helped build the Fox Theater, and I think that that's something that's really cool. It's also right next to the City Theater and the Fillmore. Back in Detroit's glory days, the city was able to brag about having one of the nation's largest theater districts. To the left is yet again another skyscraper project that has been scaled back due to construction costs, as it was originally promoted to be the tallest building in Detroit upon completion. That's no longer the case, but a skyscraper is going to get built there eventually, and now they say that it's going to be 680 feet tall. Well, there you have it, guys. Detroit's Main Street, Woodward Avenue from Pontiac to downtown. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, make sure you like, subscribe, and check out my channel for more. We'll see you next time. Peace!